Ever feel like you're constantly hungry no matter how much you eat? It's not just in your head. Your body might be stuck in a hunger loop, keeping you reaching for snacks all day. Your mind and your body might be trapped in a hunger loop, constantly craving snacks. But don't worry, I got your back. I have a way for you to break free. Before I share the solution, let me tell you an eye-opening moment that changed how I think about hunger. More importantly, it changed how I coach my clients inside of my nutrition program. It was right around 9 p.m. when my phone buzzed. It was one of my new clients that had just signed up. He sent me a text and he said this. He said, I had dinner at 7 p.m., but I'm starving. I've searched the kitchen several times and all I want is something sweet. I quickly replied, eat 4 to 6 ounces of protein or have a protein shake. His response, really want something crunchy and salty. That's when that light bulb went off. I knew exactly what was happening with my client. But before I explain, let me talk to you about this one particular thing that most people overlook. Starchy carbohydrates are what I call fast digesting carbs. They cause a spike in insulin followed by a crash. My client had cut out high insulin yielding foods and replaced them with veggies, lean proteins, healthy fats, just to jumpstart his weight loss. He wasn't going to stay there, but that's where we started him. As a result, they started to experience sugar withdrawals. But my big question was, why is he craving crunchy and salty foods? Like, how do you pair something auditory with something gustatory? Weird, right? Here's the fascinating part. Hunger isn't just physical, it's emotional. Think about the last time you were watching a football game feeling anxious as your team trailed behind. You reach for a bag of crunchy chips, right? That crunch got linked to a moment of high emotions. You were watching the game, you were excited, you had friends around, and you were eating the chips. Your brain anchored a sound to a feeling of relief thanks to a surge of dopamine, that neuroreceptor that's associated with well-being. Now, whenever you feel stressed, tired, or even excited, your brain doesn't just crave food, it craves the experience of eating something crunchy and salty. I want to give you 7 ways to prevent mindless cravings and regain control over your hunger. Number 1, I think it's super important that you eat at least 100 grams of protein if you're a female and a minimum of 150 grams of protein if you are a male. Number 2, include healthy fats in breakfast and lunch. Things such as olive oil, coconut oil, uruz oil, ghee, yolks, all these things really help keep you satiated. Number 3, maintain a steady eating cadence, eating every 3 hours and never going more than 4 hours without eating, so that you don't lose your mind and you always have control over your decisions. Number 4, you want to consume at least 75 grams of fibrous rich carbs, meaning vegetables, okay? Green leafy vegetables. This is going to keep you satiated. This is going to keep your digestion healthy, meaning that you're going to be going to the bathroom pretty consistent, which is important also in getting healthy and making sure that you are getting healthy metabolically. Number 5, you want to stay hydrated. So men need about 100 to 135 ounces of water per day, whereas women need 70 to about 100 ounces of water a day. Hydration is super important so that you're not retaining water. More importantly, you want to make sure you're hydrated. And then also you want to make sure that you're absorbing nutrients at an efficient rate. Number 6, keep sugar-free Jell-O on hand for a sweet fix without the crash. These little cups of sugar-free Jell-O have maybe 10 calories and they go a long way, especially after 7 p.m. when the cravings really kick in, because we've been an adult all day. Our discipline muscle has tired out. And this is usually when people make the biggest mistake. So make sure you have the sugar-free Jell-O on hand. Number 7, and most importantly, you're not going to expect this, but here you go. Pray for true satisfaction, not just from food, but from a deeper source. In other words, I don't think that we are just hungry all the time. I think that we're just anxious. Sometimes we're worried. Sometimes there's anticipation. And what we do is we've become accustomed to grabbing food to sort of mitigate those emotions, right? And so, yes, these are a bunch of tangible tricks and hacks that you can apply that will go a long way and really help this process. But ultimately, I believe that if we're praying, especially when we say grace, I think we have a tendency, Christians have a tendency to say grace very quickly and get to their food because they're hungry. And I think that instead of just praying for provision and everything that's before us, which is great, and we should pray for those things, we should be praying that our satisfaction comes from Jesus, that we are not satisfied just temporarily, but that we are having an eternal perspective, praying for an eternal perspective, not just for this temporal life. And at the same time, just praying that God will meet us in the midst of our friction, in the midst of our adversity, so that we're not just mitigating all of these emotions and finding idols in the place of prayer. And so my final suggestion here is to add your spirituality to your walk, right? This is, yes, it's nutrition. Yes, it's your body. And sometimes as Christians, we don't pray about these things because we don't think that God's interested in these minuscule things. But the truth is that the Bible says that he knit us in our mother's womb, which talks about, he premeditated us. He took his time. Knitting is a very intricate process. And it just talks about how intricate God is and how he's interested in all areas of our life. So don't leave God out. Don't leave Jesus out of this process. If you're in the midst of binge eating, you can't control these things, then my encouragement is to bring God into the journey. And I promise you that you will find sustainability, satisfaction like never before. Also, I promise that if you decide to come on one of our coaching calls, strategy coaching calls, which by the way is free, I promise you'll walk away with a ton of clarity and inspiration. You'll know exactly what your next step will be. Also, if we're not friends yet, you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so that you can be aware of more of the hacks and tricks that we put out in these videos. I left the link in the description down below if you want to connect directly with me. I'll talk to you guys soon. My name is JT Tapias with an idol called food. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.